So can you believe it's already February? Love is in the air, and in the Orange County housing market, it's about to go through a major shift. So if you're thinking of buying or selling a home, how will that shift impact you? That's exactly what we're going to talk about on today's episode. So for today's episode, I'm going to be going over my 2024 February housing market forecast for Orange County. So we're going to talk about what happened in January, as well as what to expect going forward if you're thinking of buying or selling a home. So let's go ahead and get into it. So as I'm filming this right now, it is pouring outside, it's windy, it's cold, so the last thing on most people's minds right now is the springtime. However, at least for the housing market, spring is right around the corner, and that means major changes are about to happen. Now, before we get into that, let's go over what we typically do on these monthly housing forecasts by first looking at what happened last month in the month of January, because that's going to give us a much better idea of what to expect in February. And then, as always, I'm going to wrap it up by giving my personal advice for both buyers and sellers who are thinking of entering the market anytime soon. Okay, so let's first look back at January. Now, I'm not going to bore you with a bunch of data that no one cares about, but let's look at a few things because that's going to give you a much better idea of what you can expect in February. So let's first look at the inventory side of things. So in Orange County this year, we started with the second lowest inventory that we've seen in at least the last 20 years. So I've been saying this year after year, month after month, but inventory is still the major issue in Orange County right now. And if you want to know why, you can check out my 2024 housing market forecast, because I go in depth about why inventory is an issue right now and why it's not going to change anytime soon. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can check out the link right above. If not, go back, search my library. You'll be able to see that 2024 forecast and get some more information there. But just know inventory is an issue right now, and it's not going to go away anytime soon. Now, on the demand side of things, to begin the year, we started seeing interest rates go down, which really pumped up demand dramatically. However, over the last week and a half, we saw interest rates start going back up again, and right now they're hovering around 7%, which is about where they started the year. However, that demand didn't go away. All those people applying for mortgages over the last 4 weeks are still in the market. They're still looking for homes. So even though demand is much lower than it typically is around this year, inventory is lower, and we're still in a very hot seller's market because of that. Now, just to give you a better idea of how fast the market is moving right now, if you look at the last 500 homes that sold in Orange County, 51% of them sold for at or above asking price. And that's been pretty typical over the last couple months. So since September, we've been in the mid 50s every single month in terms of how many homes are selling for at or above asking price. So even during the holiday season, where everything tends to slow down, people were still getting the prices they want for the homes if they priced it correctly out of the gate. And in terms of how fast those homes are moving, in Orange County, 46% of them were in escrow in less than 2 weeks, and 63% of them were in escrow in less than a month. So the majority of homeowners were still getting their homes in escrow in less than a month. And if you take out the extremely high-end homes, the ones that are $2.5 million and above, that percentage goes even higher, because the higher-end homes tend to take a couple months to sell. So when you take that data out of the picture, it goes up even higher than that. So depending on the price range you're looking at, homes are still flying off the shelf in most cases until you get to the luxury type properties. Okay, so how does all this data from January impact how the housing market is going to look moving forward as we head into February? Well, the most important thing to remember as we head into February when it comes to the housing market is the Super Bowl. Now, I'm not talking about the housing market is going to change one way or another depending on who wins the Super Bowl, nor am I saying that if you're a buyer or a seller, you're going to be in a better position depending on the outcome of the drinking game that you play based on how many times Taylor Swift is shown during that Super Bowl. But what I am saying is, in the housing market, the data shows that after the Super Bowl is typically when the spring housing market will start in Orange County, which means you can expect inventory to start rising a little bit faster, as well as demand to start picking up a little bit more. Now, I don't know exactly why that's the reasoning. However, it seems like in the middle of February is when we typically see that shift begin in the housing market, where both inventory and demand start going up more dramatically. And like I said before, we're finishing January in a hot seller's market, and that trend is just not going to dissipate anytime soon. When you look at the demand data showing how many people are applying for mortgages, it is still way up. And when you look at supply, yes, it's going up a little bit each week, but again, we're not seeing any dramatic increases in supply yet, which means that we are still in a hot housing market in Orange County as we head through February, and you can expect it to stay that way. So there's multiple offers on most homes, especially if you're looking at the under $1.5 $1.5 million mark, where the majority of the buyers are looking, you're going to have a lot of competition. So what does this all mean if you're thinking of trying to get into the market and either buy a home or sell a home? Let's go ahead and start with buyers first. Okay, so buyers, if you've watched this channel before, you've probably already heard this advice because I repeat it almost every single month, so I apologize for that, but I have to say it over and over again because it's so important and it's so true. If you're on this channel hoping to get some advice for me to tell you need to buy on this date because it's when interest rates and the prices are going to be the best for you to purchase this year, you're watching the wrong show, because I can give you as much data as possible and I can show you where the trends are heading, but no one can ever predict the future. So unless you're trying to flip a house in 3 to 4 months, it's not the way to look at home buying. What you want to be doing instead is you need to be asking yourself these 3 questions to figure out if now is a good time for you to purchase a home. So number 1, are you planning on being in that home with you and your family for the next 5 to 10 years? If so, then move on to the next question. Number 2, after talking to a lender and looking over your budget, can you afford a home in the neighborhood you want to be in with the amenities you want? Maybe it's not a 10 out of 10, but the house works for you. It can expand with you and your family. You can do some updates over the years, and it's something that you can see yourself living in long term. If you can say yes to that question, then you can go to number 3, which is, do I have a job that I like, that I feel secure in? If you can answer yes to all 3 of those questions, it's always going to be a good time for you to look at the possibility of home ownership, because I know the saying is a little bit cheesy, but it is completely true. Time in the market is always going to be better than timing the market, which just basically means that if you're in it for the long term, plan on owning the home for 5 to 10 years, the housing market has always shown time and time again that in the long run, it ends up being a great investment. So you want to be focusing on what you can afford monthly, making sure that not all of your money is going to the house so you don't feel house poor where you can't do anything else and you don't have enough money to be able to save up for emergencies and vacations and going out to dinner with your friends. You want to make sure financially it makes sense for you, and if so, then it's definitely time to start talking to a lender, getting the process going, and going through the next steps of that home ownership journey. And the second thing that I do want to add that's semi-related to that first point is that if you're one of those buyers that can afford to purchase right now, but you're just trying to wait to see if interest rates go down so you can get a better deal on the home, lowering your mortgage, you're going to be waiting a long time. If you're hoping that you're going to see those 4%, 3% interest rates again anytime soon, if not ever, you're going to be sitting on the sidelines for a significant amount of time. Right now, yes, interest rates are trending down, and yes, they're predicted to continue doing so for the rest of the year, but right now we're sitting at 7%, and most likely it's going to be a while, or we might not even see rates under 6% by the end of the year. So yes, interest rates are trending down, but don't expect to see a 3% drop in interest rates this year, or pretty much ever at this point again. That was a one-time occurrence during COVID, where we will probably never see that low of interest rates again. So if you're thinking of buying and you're waiting for rates to go, maybe they'll go down another quarter, half, maybe even 3/4 of a point over this year, but it's just not likely based on the current economic data that they're going to drop significantly lower than that. And so yes, you might end up saving yourself a little bit money by waiting for those rates to drop. However, while you're waiting, guess what? Home prices are appreciating. They have been, and they're continuing to do so in Orange County. So by that time, 6-9 months down the road where interest rates are slightly lower, you're going to be paying much more for that same home, as well as more competition in the market, because when rates go down, more buyers come in the market and you see more and more multiple offer situations, making it harder and harder for you to pay a fair market value price for that house. So if you can buy right now, I suggest starting to look. Maybe you don't find the dream home for a couple months, but you definitely want to start the process now, because otherwise you're going to be regretting it down the line when home prices go up faster than interest rates go down. So if you are thinking of buying a home over the next couple months and you want to make sure that you're giving yourself the best shot to be able to purchase that home, 2 things. Number 1 is if you're watching this on YouTube, you can check out this video right up here, and this will give you the top 5 things that you could be doing to place the most competitive offer possible that really have nothing to do with price. That way, if you are trying to compete in this market, you're giving yourself one leg up and getting ahead of the competition. And then number 2, if you're purchasing a home, especially if you're purchasing it for the first time, you can can also check out a lot of the free resources I have in the description below. Some of them include all the steps required to purchase a home in Orange County. Another one is a budgeting guide, so if you haven't gone through that yet, you can check it out. All those resources are free in the show notes below, so make sure you check that out as well. Okay, so now on the selling side of things. So I said it at the beginning of the year, and I still believe it's true. I believe that at the end of February, as we head into March, is probably going to be the ideal time for you to get your house on the market if you want to have the most amount of buyers with the least amount of competition. Now, if you look at a calendar, you might be realizing it's only a few weeks away before we hit the end of February, early March, and typically it's going to take at least a few weeks to get your house ready for showings, to be able to go through, get everything needs to be done, finished, get a game plan with your agent in place to be able to map out everything that you need to be doing ahead of time before your house hits the market to make sure you're getting the highest price possible. Now, if you haven't already done that, again, it's something you probably want to do right now if you're thinking of taking advantage of the spring housing market in 2024. That way, all your strategy is in place, all the timelines are mapped out, making everything that much smoother. Now, if you are thinking of selling your house and you have no idea where to start, you're confused and overwhelmed by the process, again, I have a bunch of free resources to help out with that. So if you check out the description below, you'll be able to find all those. And then for both buyers and sellers, if you ever have any questions about the housing market in general, you can always book a free discovery call with me. It lasts 30 minutes and we can discuss any questions you have whatsoever about both the selling or the buying process, or if you're doing both at the same time, what that looks like. We can do that in detail anytime you want to. So just click on the link below, schedule a time that works best for you, and I'd be happy to have that conversation with you. Okay, so hopefully you found that information useful. And then one last thing, if you are thinking of buying a home and you want to figure out exactly how much does it actually cost to purchase a home, can I afford to buy a home in Orange County? Feel free to check out the free video right down here that goes over all of that. So until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you on the next show. Bye, everybody.